This is the one we need. Please let me get this fish. Felt that bite. That was a tired jump, buddy. Drag is loose. Yes. That's another good one, dude.
That's right.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today's is going to be a fun one. We're going to build my all-time favorite spinning rod. It's the MHX NSJ871 blank. I'm going to show you all the components that you need. I'm going to walk you through the entire process. The last video that I did, I built a bait casting rod, and I had a lot of comments from viewers that wanted me to show you how to build a spinning rod. So I'm going to show you how to build the most versatile spinning rod blank that I use. The 7.3 1 power rod. It's a medium light action, 7'3" blank that is perfect for everything from Ned rigs, drop shots, spy baits, hair jigs. If it's a finesse bait, you can pretty much throw it on it. So guys, I'm going to walk you through it. I want to show you what components I'm going to use first. The first thing is you need your blank, which I got in from mud hole the other day. If I don't break it, hitting it on the wall and everything else. This is just the NSJ 871 blank. You can see there is nothing on it. Super light, extremely sensitive blank. And then from that standpoint, we need to use our reel seat. So this is where the spinning reel is actually going to connect right here. I have inserted the insert already in it. I glue those in right when I get them. So it's already been glued in. It's just a tube that fits right in the middle. You glue it into place. That's what we're going to use to help hold the reel seat onto the blank after we arbor up the blank with some tape. We've got ourselves a butt grip, a couple of nubbins that fit on the reel seat just to kind of finish it off like that. So that'll be my whole handle on top of the blank. And then at that point, you just need your guide train. These are some laser LZR CRB guides. So I go with a size 20, a 12, and a 6. These are spinning rod, as you can see, guides. And then I finish that off with a bunch of CRB LZR size 5, single footed, if I can show that to you. So I'll finish it off. and then we'll put just on the tip, we'll just put our rod tip on the end. But from a component standpoint, pretty straightforward. It is a little bit more intense in terms of mounting the reel seat versus doing a bait casting rod, because the bait casting rod reel seats are meant to fit snug already. So all you got to do is glue them on. In this case, we need to build up a little bit of a arbor with some tape so that the reel seat will stay on. Because in this case, the spinning reel seats are one size fit all, so you got to make it fit, versus the bait casting reel seats, which are designed to fit by size, which is kind of nice because with the spinning reel seats, one size fits all, so you can make everyone fit. With the bait casters, you have to know specifically what size you need to put on that blank. So you almost end up buying a couple of various sizes to make sure you have the right size. So let's get you into this. I want to walk you through the entire process. This is going to be very heavy on the rod building again, and I'll kind of show you some of the things that I like to do and how to make this a nice, neat, clean process. But I'm excited to build this MHX NSJ871 because I've only got 2 of these right now. I've been waiting for these blanks. They finally got them back in stock. So guys, if this is a blank that you want to build, I recommend checking them out right now at mudhole.com. Let's get to it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is put my blank in my spine finder. I'm going to put a little pressure on the tip, rotate the blank, waiting to feel for it to snap into place, which it just did. The spine is right there. So because this is a spinning blank, I'm going to mark the bottom just with a line, just to make sure that that's where I want it to be. And you can see it just wants to snap in place and keep going back to that. So I know that's where my spine is. So that's where I'm going to build my guide train off of. And now we can move on to putting the reel seat on. All right, so the next step is to put down my measurements. I want to mark where I'm going to put all my guides, where I'm going to mount my reel seat. I want to have all my measurements correct. Now in this case, I'm lucky enough that I've already built this rod, so I can just easily mark based on where all the guides are using my China marker. That is a quick, easy way to do it. I laid out one of the rods I'm using already, and I'll just mark it. I've also got here my cheat sheet, which has all of the measurements that I use, which I'm going to supply you guys so that you can find that in the video description, as well as I'm sure I'll put it somewhere within the video. But I want you to be able to build the exact rod using the same components and the same measurements that I use. So I've already figured out the measurements that I want. You can use a bunch of different resources to do that. Mudhole has a whole bunch of different information on their website. I've got a formula that I use that I've gotten from another rod builder that I really like. So that's where I get my measurements from, but it's all based on the number of guides that you're going to use. You want to have your spacing correctly, and you want them to taper off as you get to the tip. So if you want to build the rod I use the measurements that I provide in the description, but it's an easy way to do this is if you've already built the rod, you just need to mark it up by hand by comparing it to the rod. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Next up is the messy part. We've got to take our CRB reamers and we need to ream out the inside of the nubbins, which are too small. As you can see, that would not slide all the way down the rod. So we need to ream that out. We need to ream out the butt grip as well. So I'm going to do this over the garbage can because it gets kind of messy. But you gotta remember a couple of things here. The 2 nubbins, you're not reaming out to the same size. You've got one nubbin that's going to be at the top of your reel seat and one nubbin that's going to be at the bottom of the reel seat. So you need to recognize that your reamer is tapered. So you want to make sure that you taper the correct side, meaning if this is my bottom nubbin, the bottom side needs to go on your reamer first because it'll be a little bit wider. And at the same time, you got to then recall that this is going to be my bottom nubbin and not the top nubbin when I glue it on, because they're going to be, you know, that 6 inches of separation will be a pretty big difference. So it won't fit as snug. So we got to make sure that we just keep that organized when we go ahead and do it. So I'm going to ream this out I'm going to make this my bottom nubbin to start, so the bottom side goes down because that'll be wider. And we're going to ream this out to fit. So that's the first. And I'm going to put this one on the opposite side now because this is the top nubbin. And that one needs to go right here. It's a perfect, so that's perfect. We'll be able to get the two nubbins. Now we got to do the butt grip. You can see we've opened that up. That should be about on because I've done this before and that works perfect. Nice, slight, snug fit. So now we need to take some tape from our lovely CRB tape dispenser and we're gonna arbor up the blank. So we want to widen up the blank so that our reel handle will fit snug so that when we apply glue, there's something there to hold it in place. And at this point, this is one of the reasons why when I lay out my measurements, I mark where the bottom nubbin goes. I mark where the top of the bottom nubbin goes. This is my reel seat is in between here and then the top nubbin. So when I arbor this up, I usually put three sections of tape. So I know exactly where my reel seat's gonna be. So I put one about a 1/2 inch below the top of the reel seat, a 1/2 inch above, and then I put one in the middle, and that seems to hold really well. So we're gonna start doing that right now. And this is just about rolling tape on until you come up with a place that you think will be the right width. So there's a perfect fit. We take our reel seat and I'll slide it on. And it hits, but it's not so tight I can't get it on there. And all three of my arbors fit extremely snug, but not so snug I have to force it on. So there's still enough room to get a little bit of that glue in there. But that's gonna be our reel seat. So we'll put the nubbins on, we'll slide those on first, but we can glue that into place. So I can get ready to prepare the glue. I can glue the reel seat, the butt grip, and the nubbins all on together. Now we take equal parts of our ProPace rod adhesive and we're going to mix that together. A couple of things before I start gluing. I've got a bunch of paper towels here I ripped up into small sections. I coated them with an isopropyl alcohol, which will help clean off any excess glue. It can get messy if you're not careful. I've also slid up my bottom nubbin from the bottom up. You can slide them on before you put the arbor on, the tape arbor. In this case, I know the parts I'm using and I can slide the nubbin on no problem from the bottom. So I'm gonna get that ready. I'm gonna get my handle, reel seat, ready. Slide that down as well as my top nubbin. So I've got all my pieces ready to be glued into place. So I'm going to start spreading the glue. And generally speaking, I like to work from the, I like to put the reel seat in position first and then slide the nubbins on. It seems to be a little bit less messy for me from that standpoint. So I'm going to coat my tape with a nice heavy coat. I'll slide the reel seat down. Now remember, we've got marked where we want our guides to go. So this is where you can position the reel seat with the spine if you so choose to put the spine of the rod on. Then I'll carry the excess glue down to be used as the glue for the bottom nubbin. I'll slide that up. You can see I've got a lot of excess glue, and that's where having some wipes ready to go is very valuable. You want to make sure you get as much of the glue up as possible. Nice snug fit. Make sure my reel handle is in line with my spine. Put a little glue on the top, slide my top nubbin down. And there you have it. There is our reel seat. I still got to glue the butt grip on. I'll go ahead and do that now. I'm going to let this glue and we'll be good to go. We can come back and start doing the thread work. We are going to start putting our guides on. Here you can see this is one of the laser guides. One thing I like about these is they have a tapered foot. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's tapered, so it makes threading the line really easy. This is a pretty straightforward process. What I do is I heat the foot up of the guide, and then I touch the foot to a rod tip glue stick, at which point then I go ahead and use that to stick onto my rod. Make sure it's roughly in line. I take a little bit of heat just to make sure none of those glue bubbles are sticking out, because that could make the threading process a lot harder. And at this point, I'll take my thread. So we're going to do one wrap away from the guide. Oop. We're going to do one wrap away from the guide. I start it right at the base of the foot. So one wrap away from the line, up and over, cross over it, and then I do 3 wraps over the foot of the guide. So when I start turning the rod, what that's going to do is start my threading process to the point where it eats up these 3 wraps. I'm going to have like 4 wraps over my tag end, which is going to hold it in place. So right now I'll start turning the rod, make sure all the thread is still layering nicely while holding my tag end tight. You can see that was the last wrap of my tag end, so I can let go of that. Oop, that wasn't good. I'll cut off the tag end. Now I can start just layering the thread. I've got one little bump out. I'm going to bump that in. Make sure my thread is nice and tight. Okay, I'm going to pull through under the line. This is what we're going to pull the tag end through to secure the knot. We're going to finish our wraps. Okay, now I'm going to put my finger on the wrap, release the tension, and then I'm going to cut the thread. Took the tension off, so I've got my finger holding the thread down. I'll take my tweezers, go through the pull through, grab that new tag end I just made, pull that line tight, pull the pull through so that it's tight, so I can let go of my tag end. I cut that off right at the base of my thread work, put my finger on top of the thread to remain pressure, take my pull through, give it a pop, and you can see we've got our tag is pulled underneath the threading, and we're done with that guy, and we can move on to the next one. All right, so I've got the rod in the rod drying rack, getting ready to apply the 2-part epoxy. This is just the flex coat that I'm using, 2-part rod epoxy to put on the thread work, because we have finished that all up. Got this all mixed up nicely, and we will start applying it to the rod. A lot of people say to start on the tip of the rod. I generally just like to start down by the handle and work my way up. So I'm going to start applying it on the label first, just to kind of give you guys a sense of what I'm looking to do. In this case, this is, you know, I'm going to coat the entire label so you can put a lot of epoxy on and kind of move it around. For the beginners out there, this is probably the easiest thing to do because the label is just one big gob of epoxy. I'm just going to throw it on heavy. I can apply some heat to get any air bubbles out and make sure it goes on nice and smooth. But I figured this would be a good way to give you guys an example of putting on the epoxy. So once you put it on, you can apply a little bit of heat. This will help smoothen it out, get any air bubbles out. You just want to make sure you keep the flame moving around. And then if you see any places you missed, you can just go back and apply it on a little heavier. Like here, we've got just thread. I'm going to apply it a little heavier. Some people like to put 2 coats on. I like to get it done in 1 coat. That's personal preference. A spot I missed right there. Hit it with the heat one more time. There you have it. Now I'm just going to go the length of the rod, do them all before my epoxy hardens, but that's all you need to do. You can see how the thread color has changed. It does make a difference, so you want to be aware of that as well. All right, there you have it. As you can see, it did not take too long to build this rod at all. I've got it in the drying rack. This will be ready for me in the morning. I could take it out and use it. It's ready to go at this point. It's the MHX NSJ871, the best finesse rod that I use. It is awesome for handling big smallmouth, great for largemouth, walleye, crappie, you name it. This rod can handle it. It's a really good one. I will put all of the different components as well as the measurements in the description of this video so that you guys can go to mudhole.com, buy all of the exact components, and build the exact rod that I just built for you so you can enjoy it as much as I do. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. We'll have another video coming out tomorrow.